Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So it is official. We finally got the very first face-off between Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez after the William Skol fight. Of course, the face-off was better than the actual Canelo-Skol fight. Although William Skol, he did a lot better than I thought he would do in this fight. The Zone's commentary was terrible as always, extremely biased. They didn't want to give William Skol any credit for the punches that he landed or the fact that he nullified a lot of Canelo Alvarez's attacks. Every single time Canelo Alvarez got close to William Skol, William would let his hands go, and a lot of times he would either beat Canelo to the punch or he would counter Canelo as soon as Canelo would throw one punch. This actually made Canelo Alvarez even more reluctant to let his hands go. The movement that William Skol used in this fight completely exposed Canelo Alvarez even further. Canelo Alvarez is slow on his feet. He doesn't know how to cut off the ring. What Gervonta Tank Davis did to a Frank Martin, who was constantly moving in the ring, knocking him out, that's what Canelo Alvarez was supposed to do to William Skol. He was supposed to cut the ring off just like Gervonta did, trap him in the corner, and knock him out. He can't do that because he doesn't have that skill set. When I told you guys how terrible the commentary was for this fight, surprisingly, the main antagonist this time was Sergio Mora, because usually it's Todd Grisham and Chris Mannix. But this time, Sergio Mora, he was the one that was constantly attacking Skol's performance, saying he didn't come to win. But the funny thing is, every time he said this, Skol would actually land a punch. In fact, there were rounds when Skol was landing more punches than Canelo was. It's just so ironic that Sergio Mora, a boxer himself, who was known for constantly moving in the ring, was trashing this guy for moving in the ring. And Skol, he did move a lot in this fight. But the difference is, like I said, every single time Canelo Alvarez let his hands go, Skol let his hands go with Canelo. And he was landing his punches. Canelo Alvarez, he already knew going into this fight, this was William Skol's style. He was supposed to prepare for that style. He was supposed to be trained on how to cut off the ring. And with all the fights that Canelo Alvarez has, if he still don't know how to do that, maybe he should be training with Gervonta Tank Davis. You have two fighters in this ring, and neither one of them was throwing that many punches. Canelo Alvarez is the only one who's supposed to be considered one of the best fighters in the world, the greatest Mexican fighter of all time, etc., the undisputed champion. With all of the experience that he has, he is the main one responsible for not cutting off the ring and getting this guy out of there, knocking him out. I mean, the double standards in the sport of boxing is amazing. Because when Shakur Stevenson fights as the aggressor and he's fighting Artem Haroutian, after a while, Artem, he was just trying to survive. And who did they blame that on? They didn't blame that on Artem, saying that he was just trying to survive, he was just moving in the ring. They blamed it on Shakur Stevenson, right? The aggressor. The man that was making the fight, the man that was constantly coming forward. So you guys have to keep the same energy when it comes to this fight right here. And the truth is, Shakur Stevenson, he did much better. He was much more active letting his hands go when he was fighting against Artem than Canelo Alvarez was when he was fighting against Skol. And it was once again because Canelo Alvarez, he could not figure out the puzzle. When it came to Shakur, he figured out the puzzle. He just couldn't knock the guy out. So during this fight, once again, Sergio Mora, he was constantly trashing Skol the entire night. And then, of course, Chris Mannix and the other commentator, they started to follow his lead and they started doing the same thing. But there was another commentator there that surprisingly put Sergio Mora in his place. And that was Danny Jacobs. Danny Jacobs, he told Sergio Mora and the rest of the panel, he said, you have to hold Canelo Alvarez accountable. Canelo Alvarez is the one that's supposed to know how to cut off the ring. He's the one with all of the experience. He knew going into this fight that this is the way Skol fights, so he was supposed to prepare for that. End quote. And they didn't want to hear that. They didn't want to hear Danny Jacobs say that. Sergio Mora and the rest of the gang, they kept saying that Skol didn't come to win. But Skol actually did better on the scorecards than Berlanga did. One of the judges had to fight 115-113. Another had to fight 116-112. When it comes to the Berlanga fight, no judge had to fight that close. William Skol, he just further exposed the fact that Canelo Alvarez has very slow feet and has a hard time dealing with foot movement. Even though there were a lot of fighters that Canelo Alvarez has been in the ring with that had foot movement, fighters like Amir Khan, even Billy Joe Saunders. But when it came to William Scow, Canelo really couldn't hit him clean. And like I said, every time Canelo got close to Scow, Scow would actually beat Canelo to the punch and hit him. And I tell you this, Canelo must have really respected Scow's power because he was really reluctant to let his hands go in this fight. Even when Canelo would get Scow on the ropes, Canelo would just throw one punch and try to jump back because he was so worried about the counter. With that being said, it's on to the next when it comes to Canelo versus Terence Crawford. And that's going to obviously be a complete different fight. The level of confidence that Terence Crawford has, it makes you think that the weight is not going to be that much of a problem. I mean, I don't know if that's the case, but I'm just looking at Crawford's confidence. Sometimes that means something, sometimes it doesn't. The only thing we all know is Terence Crawford is a much, much, much better fighter than Canelo Alvarez. And we'll see in September if that's going to be enough to trump Canelo Alvarez's natural size. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one.
All right, now check this out, guys. If you're looking to repair eczema scars, burns and bruises, dark spots and blemishes,
Fever blisters, diabetic ulcers,
this right here is the perfect product for you guys. It's called Elo Diki Face and Body Oil. Athletes and top-ranking boxers, they're also using it after training to reduce swelling, inflammation, and to ease the pain. So get yours today. Go to elodiki.com.
like them on Facebook and follow them on Instagram.